Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to try and unravel the story of someone who is, well, a walking contradiction. The one and only Brigitte Bardot.
So, how on earth do you even begin to square these two things? On one side, you have this icon of the sexual revolution. And on the other, a figure who's been convicted multiple times for her really inflammatory public statements. It's a lot. To really get a handle on her incredibly complicated legacy, you almost have to look at her life as two completely distinct, powerful acts. First, there was the global superstar, and then the uncompromising activist.
I mean, to give you a sense of just how huge she was, think about this. The president of France, Charles de Gaulle himself, said that. She wasn't just some movie star in the 50s and 60s, she was a cultural force of nature.
But her beginnings, they were a world away from the rebellious image she would later build. She actually grew up in a well-off but really strict conservative Catholic home in Paris. Her dream was to be a ballerina. But then an appearance on the cover of Elle magazine when she was just 15, well, that changed everything. Her breakout role came in this film, which was directed by her husband at the time, Roger Vadim. And it wasn't just a movie, it was a cultural earthquake. It was a massive hit everywhere, but it totally scandalized audiences, especially in the US. Get this, some theater managers were even arrested for screening it. Just like that, boom, she was an international star. And you know, it wasn't just pop culture fans who noticed. The big thinkers in France were paying attention too. The famous philosopher Simone de Beauvoir saw her as this incredibly powerful, liberating force. She actually called her a locomotive of women's history because of how she was smashing social and sexual norms. Her influence was just everywhere. She basically made the bikini a thing. She had a fashion neckline named after her that's still popular today. She single-handedly put the little fishing village of Saint-Tropez on the global map, and she even became the official face of Marianne, the very symbol of the French Republic.
And then 1973 happens. Right at the absolute peak of her fame, she makes this dramatic pivot.
Right before her 40th birthday, she just walked away from everything. After a career with 47 films, a bunch of musicals, over 60 songs, she was just done. She quit the entire entertainment industry cold turkey. And this quote, it tells you everything about her mindset, right? This wasn't her fading from the spotlight. It was a deliberate, decisive exit. She was closing the door on Act 1 of her life, and she was doing it completely on her own terms.
So what does retirement look like for Brigitte Bardot? Well, it wasn't exactly quiet. This was the start of an entirely new, pretty unglamorous, and often confrontational career. In 1977, she went with activist Paul Watson out onto the Canadian ice floes, and the pictures of her with those baby seals brought massive global attention to their slaughter.
And she absolutely put her money where her mouth was. In 1986, she started her own foundation for animal welfare. And how did she fund it? By auctioning off her own personal jewelry and possessions. She wasn't just a celebrity face for a cause. She built an institution that would keep fighting long after she was gone.
Her focus was incredibly broad and totally uncompromising. She took on the seal hunt, whaling, the fur trade, bullfighting, and even went after the consumption of horse meat in her own country, France. If she saw a practice as cruel, she went after it, and she didn't care about tradition or money.
Her name basically became synonymous with direct action animal rights, so much so that in 2011, the famous environmental group Sea Shepherd renamed one of its fast interceptor boats in her honor. Her name was literally on a vessel used to hunt down illegal whalers.
This quote, it just perfectly captures the complete transformation. The glamorous movie star was gone. In her place was the single-minded activist who had totally and completely shed her past life.
But, and this is a huge but, this is where her legacy gets really, really complicated. Her fierce advocacy for animals started to go hand in hand with these inflammatory public comments that would come to define the later part of her life.
So let's just look at the record. Her public statements led to numerous convictions for inciting racial hatred. She was fined again and again for comments she made in her books and in letters about Muslims in France. At one point, prosecutors even said they were getting tired of having to charge her for these kinds of offenses.
And her politics also became a huge part of this controversial status. She became a vocal supporter of France's far-right National Front Party, and she even endorsed its leader, Marine Le Pen, for president, which really distanced her from so many of the people who had once admired her. So, in the end, we're left with a legacy that just defies any easy explanation.
a symbol of liberation who became an icon of the far right, a fierce protector of animals who was convicted for her words against people. It really just makes you wonder, how do these completely different lives all exist inside of one single person?